I bought so much stuff at that estate sale that I totally forgot that later on I ended up finding all of these partial radius gauge sets. So you've got two Fuji ones. Here's a box for a Mitutoyo. Here's a Mitutoyo. And here is a Starrett set. So I'll have to see what's what. Here's the rest of what he had for regular indicators. This is another one of these little Federal itty bitty suckers. With a little bit of surface rust on there. But I think this might be brand new old stock. Works perfect. Good Brown and Sharp best test. A little bit dirty, but it works perfectly. Thousandths. Not much in there in the line of as far as accessories. This is a Mitutoyo drop indicator. It's mint. It's an older one by the looks of it. Maybe not. Anyways, it's got the Hujimadicky here to put it on a stand for inspection work. Is that a tenths indicator? It is. That's a tenths indicator, so that's kind of nice. Oh yeah, here's a Mitutoyo Dti with the long finger on it. That's kind of nice too. And this one is another Mitutoyo Dti, also with the long finger on it, also in great shape. This is a half thou resolution indicator. What is this one? They both are. Alright, so those two are the same. And then I put together this pile of all of the thickness gauges that he had. And then this, here's another one of these feet. This gauge here was something that was made up, clearly, but I grabbed it just because it has another one of these Mitutoyo and drop indicators on it. It's a little sticky, but that'll clean up okay. And that is a regular thousandths one. This is just a hunk of aluminum. Quite frankly, I'm probably just going to scrap this and keep the indicator. And this is pretty rough looking. It's so dirty I can't even see what it is. We'll clean that up in a moment. And then these are all Mitutoyos. I mean, it looks like we got 4 of them. And then I also got this Starrett one, which is actually in really nice shape because it was the only one that had a box. This one works perfectly. So, all right, let me clean these up and see how they look. All right, now that I clean these up, you can see them a little better. This one actually cleaned up pretty decent. Again, like I said, it sticks just a little bit. That'll be okay though. These look a little older, but they're all pretty much the same. They're all thousandths. They all have needle type points on them. They all have this little backing, almost like anvil or guide that could be removed. And I think you can actually slide that in more too. But that basically makes sure that you take the measurement from the same distance from the edge every time. This is a kind of neat one here just because it's an early Ames. I'm finally getting over my, well, I'm sort of getting over my my hoarding because this would be definitely in the hoard category for unusual because of the secondary dial just being a vertical scale. Kind of neat, but yeah. All right, off they go. Here's a couple of things that again, I was going to pass on, but I ended up lumping them together with other stuff and getting a good deal on them. This is a letter set. This is the Mark Wright Company of Mark Wright letter set by the Greenfield Steel Stamp Corporation of Greenfield, Massachusetts. Greenfield is probably the tap and die capital of the New England. Anyways, that's actually, it looks like it's missing one, but that's actually a full letter set. And this is same company number set. A little bit of surface rust on there, but that's okay. I'm starting to get too many of these number and letter sets. I'm going to have to start going through those and figuring out what I'm going to sell. This is a, oh yeah, so this is kind of cool. This is a little optical viewer, okay? You've seen these before, right? And like a lot of the larger ones that I've had, you can change the reticles, which are the little lines, to do different jobs. So this one that's in there right now, actually, it's a wheel with all little rays, lines going out from the center, and it's in degrees. So this would be for measuring angles. Okay, and then there are more in this package right here. There's a couple more that can be changed. And then he had this whole other box of just full of reticles, all different ones, different types. So I haven't really looked into that yet or decided whether or not I'm going to keep that or what I'm going to do with that, but that's kind of interesting. And then this, when I found this, I kind of knew what it was pretty quickly, and he ended up confirming that this is a reference specimen for a Mitutoyo Profilometer, which is basically a surface roughness analyzer, which those of you who follow all of my videos a while back know that I had scored one of these. I still have it, actually, and I was playing around with it. So theoretically now I could actually use this to determine whether or not it's working correctly. The stylus on the profilometer drags across here, and it will give you a reading of the surface roughness. And this has two different roughnesses on it. So the idea would be you would use this to check the calibration or the accuracy of your profilometer. Naturally, I was intrigued. He said he had one of these, but he couldn't locate it. And finally, when he gave up on trying to find it, he thought maybe he had just sold it a while back and had forgotten. But I grabbed this because I knew that I had one, so it would, I could use it with mine or sell it with mine or whatever. These are the only two gauge block sets that he had, and then he had 4 gauge pin sets. I passed on the gauge pin sets because we couldn't come to an agreement on price on those. He kind of held out higher on those. He wanted $50 a set for those, and I have too many of them already, and they're kind of a pain to ship, so resale's not so great on them for me. And so then he had these 2 gauge block sets. This top one is a real mess. It's a hot mess. It's badged Starrett Weber gauge division, and what's in here, if I can get the lock to open, is one of these types of sets in pretty rough shape. It's the Hoek or Hoik or whatever the heck it is, or Pratt & Whitney type of sets that I've got. I've got several of these. Those of you who haven't seen these before, they're interesting. They have a hole through them. And the idea was they came with a series of rods here, and they came with this base. And you could literally use this on a surface plate. You stack these up on the rods to a very specific height, and then that would allow you to make very precise measurements from that reference surface up to the top. You would put, for instance, you could put this block here with this foot coming off of it, off the top there. But then there were also these other ones, like that's got a really sharp point and it's got a flat on one side. The other thing you could do is you could take 2 like this, and you could stack these together, sandwich blocks between these, and then you could make a very accurate point-to-point measurement. You could also, using these, you could do very accurate measurements from a hole to a hole. So it had a lot going for it. Unfortunately, the surface rust has gotten to it, which is not good at all for gauge blocks. But a lot of these are actually still probably going to be mildly useful. So I took this just because it was really, I was paying for the one underneath it that he made me pay all the money for, and then these were just kind of thrown in. So I figured I might as well take them because I might have, maybe there's some blocks here that are still in good enough shape that I could transfer them to some of the sets I have that might be missing a block or two. Well, it seems like it's always the same blocks go missing in these sets. This is the one that he got me for a little bit more money than I was comfortable with, but he actually, he eventually came down to a price I could agree on, and he still felt like he was giving this away. But this is a Mitutoyo gauge block set. This one, unlike the last one, is in much better shape. and it's fairly complete. All of the large blocks are present. Both of these rows are full, and this bottom row, it looks like we're missing the 0.10005 block is missing. I'm wondering whether or not this 0.0625 block even is a 0.0625 block. Yeah, so that's a Weber 0.050 block, interestingly enough. So that's actually doesn't belong in there. I'll leave it in there for now. Yeah, I probably should have looked at this more closely. Maybe I could have gotten a better deal. Well, anywho, it's a nice set. I piled all of the calipers that he had there, and ended up getting them for, pretty cheap by piling them. This that looks absolutely horrible and is filthy. This is actually a Brown and Sharp, and it actually works perfectly fine. So I'm pretty confident that'll clean up and be a good usable cheap caliper for somebody. This one is this is a Canon, K-A-N-O-N. I actually had a large one of these a while back. I had never heard of this brand. It actually seems like it's a pretty decent caliper. Obviously, some sort of import. Here's another best test. And again, another Brown and Sharp. This one sounds downright crunchy, but it actually still is working perfectly fine. It's still repeating amazingly, even though it's got all this dirt on it. Here's one of these Starrett indicator point rings, the 25R. I just recently sold one of these, although the one I sold was like near mint with the box. But I got like $50 for it or something like that. So this one's a little bit different because I don't think I've seen one that had the numbers on the back like that. Not that it matters. That's the spring-loaded push one. There's the flat foot. The button ones. I've never seen this one. That's a funky one. I wonder if that was... So you got to take these two out, just unscrew that sucker. Get you a little bit better look at that big wedge-shaped one. And then there's this pair right here. I forget what these are. Oh yeah, these are a nice pair of early Helios. I'll tell you, you can't appreciate it, but these are heavy. Nice Helios calipers. They've got some weight to them. And it's funny, it's actually the box that's got a lot of the weight to it. And I'm just noticing now, what I didn't notice before, is this is a Mitutoyo box. This is an early Mitutoyo caliper box. So I'm going to probably hold on to that box because I think I have my pair of little, like 4-inch Mitutoyo calipers. This would probably be a good box for those, to keep those safe. This is a Helios, and I think later on I ended up finding a Helios leather holster with the other stuff that's coming. So, and then this, I really didn't want it, but it, again, it came with the pile, and it's like this thing probably belongs in the Smithsonian. But this is a Brown and Sharp, early Brown and Sharp digital calipers. So I know a lot of retired machinists watch my videos here and are curious about the values on some of these things and some of the things they find. And lots of times it's just a matter of them seeing stuff that they recognize from back in the day. Well, this is back there, I'm pretty sure. This might even go back to the 80s. This thing's just, it's big and clunky and massive. Wouldn't that be a hoot if this thing turned on? Let's see. UC. Yeah, there's no way in heck this is going to work, right? So these are the DigiCal 2s. Oh, so these can't be that old because they're the DigiCal 2s. Obviously, these replaced the DigiCal 1s. So, gotta find some DigiCal 1s to get really back there in the age, right? Imagine what's in there for a battery, because it's a big, heavy... Before I go prying on this, maybe I should just read how you take the batteries out of this thing. Oh my goodness. You're going to have to take out a loan just to buy the batteries for this thing. This uses lead-acid batteries. I'm just kidding. Count them. 4 batteries in this thing. Hey, I wonder why one of them is backwards. What are you going to do? You going to take these screws out to flip that around? Come on. And this big fella here was also in this lot. This is a Fowler. And this is Actually, a Helios Caliper badge by Fowler. So it says Helios here. So these are made in Germany, good quality caliper, and then they were imported and sold with the Fowler name. I have several pairs of these now, so certainly don't need to keep these. These actually work perfectly fine too. They're nice because they're 12-inch calipers. Actually go to 13, but they're only usable at 12. So.